I may stand vindicated this week, maybe, because I've been bearish on Facebook for some time, and now I have an army of 13-year-olds on my side. Well, one 13-year-old at least. Her name's Ruby Karp, and she's gone viral on Mashable with her article, quote, "I'm 13 and none of my friends use Facebook." Jacqueline, did this article resonate with you?
I thought it was really interesting because, I'm curious if her friends aren't using Facebook, what social media are they using, and what does that mean for the future of social media? So in the article, she did mention how Instagram is what she's really into and all of her friends are into. And I thought it was really interesting that she said her only friend on Facebook was her grandmother.
Well, when you think about it, I mean,
Like,
think
really?
about how fast things are moving for kids these days. I sound like an old man. The kids these days, they move so fast, I tell you. But seriously, I've said for the past few years, for a start, Facebook makes way too many changes, and it makes it far too unintuitive to be able to deal with the changes. And 14-year-olds don't want to keep figuring out how to reset their privacy settings, even if they did care about it. And there are too many, it's just not intuitive. Think of how an iPhone works, how you can give an iPhone or an iPad to a baby, and the baby just instinctively knows how to engage with it. You don't need an instruction manual. Facebook, there's nothing intuitive about. It's big and old and clunky, and I'm just waiting for the day when something new comes along that streamlines the social media experience and creates a way of integrating all of these disparate little things that do work really well, like Twitter and Instagram and so on, and into some grander kind of, I don't know, social media 2.0. Do you guys have any thoughts?
You know what? I was going to say, what's interesting? Another study in June linked Facebook with like an older demographic. So this study focused on how it said Twitter fuels younger adults' narcissistic tendencies. And then it said Facebook fuels middle-aged adults' narcissistic tendencies. And it was like a study on how linking basically like narcissistic behavior tendencies with social media use, but it also broke up the age groups. So, I just thought that was really interesting. And I personally love love Twitter, Facebook. I'm not on Instagram yet, but that might change. So we'll see what happens.
I'm sure it will. Chris, what's your prognostication for Facebook?
I mean, listen, a lot of scientific research has shown that over generations, the multimodal ability of young people have evolved over time. So if you look at a 13-year-old in the 50s versus a 13-year-old today, they just have the ability to be able to soak in more information. They have the ability to function doing more at the same time. There's neuroscientific research to support that claim. And so with that being said, it's almost like a response to evolutionary biology for them to be able to want to be more involved in social media that's more interactive and is more cutting edge and is more reflective of everyday experiences. And, Facebook is where you go to catch up with the people that you knew in the third grade. And, Instagram and Twitter are the people where you make connections with folks who you're meeting and who are sharing information nowadays. And so it almost seems like it's an evolution from, garnering or playing with ideas in the past and moving on to more current things. And developmentally, that's where they are. They're in a space where they're more likely to engage with multimodal phenomena.
John, when was the last time you spoke to someone who said, you know what, I love Facebook. I love being on Facebook. I love using it. It's so easy and enjoyable. I just love engaging with it. Has anyone ever said those words in the history of the world?
Your point about your comparison with the iPhone really cuts to the point. We know good design when we experience it, and we know what it feels like to be deceived constantly, and it's super annoying. And the iPhone, the reason it's so good is because they make money when you buy that thing, and then they want you to just use it and not even have to think about it. How does Facebook make their money? They have to keep on changing the rules so that essentially you keep divulging your information so they can rake in advertising money. I mean, I just don't understand why anyone uses it. But I've got one more bit of fuel for your fire against Facebook. A paper that's going to be published today in the Public Library of Science 1+1 it's the first longitudinal study of Facebook users. So there have been surveys before, basically trying to find out if there's a correlation between how much you use Facebook and your well-being and along various measures. And the results have been really mixed because you get to buy a sample. Like it could be that when you're unhappy, you tend to use Facebook more. And so these surveys get really weird results, and there's no way to tell cause and effect. So this longitudinal study actually followed people over time, and it must have been super annoying, but they got people to do it. They text messaged them 5 times a day and made them take a survey to answer questions about how their day's going, how many real life people they've been seeing, how much they've been using Facebook, how happy they are, how satisfied they are with blah, 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 blah. And the results are really troubling for Facebook because use of Facebook makes you sadder in real time. And not only that, but by the end of the 2-week study, the life satisfaction of people was diminished the more they used Facebook.
Fascinating. So, I mean, if there are two countervailing things that go on when you use Facebook, one is that you're able to be more connected to the people who are in your life. You can share things. So connectedness probably makes you happier. But what you're saying really vindicates something that I felt for a while, which is that the act of constantly curating your own existence in real time and having it compared with other people's best curations of their own existences is deeply depressing.
Somehow deadening.
Well, and then to add that on to that, it also what you're talking about here is the sort of the psychic well-being of the person. And so if you're a person who's sort of sound social emotionally and you're using Facebook as a way to connect with people, then it won't make you sadder. And if you're somebody who has some issue and you're constantly comparing yourself to others, then it might exaggerate, the negative effects of Facebook.
Yeah, Jacqueline, do you have final thoughts about that?
That's a good point. Well, I was just curious how long they followed the people. I mean,
2 weeks.
They had, 2 weeks?
Yeah. How's that for longitude?
Yeah, exactly. That's it's a long-term study. Most of the people who are commenting online, by the way, agree with us. Adubs1988 says, Facebook is like a 1957 Packard. Boring File Clerk says, Facebook stopped being cool once our parents started to use it. And Rona Berry-Marin says, yeah, Facebook is where I'll find most of my generation hanging, 50 plus.